So, ozone decides if you have a positive or a negative health effect from breathing in ozone, and it decides for you. There, as of right now, are no factors that determine whether or not you have a good or a bad reaction to breathing in ozone. I have a few studies and articles that I will show you and go over with you that demonstrate the negative health effects and the positive health benefits. And like I said, there is no known genetic factor that determines whether someone will have a good or a bad outcome to it. It's a mystery right now. But here are the main points. In the studies I'm about to talk about, I just go over a few points of how it can be good and how it can be bad. And there are, as of right now, proven negative and positive health benefits and effects from breathing in ozone, but it is not proven or known why some people are favored and some people are chosen to die and have negative health effects. So what we do know from the studies I'm about to go over is that it helps your lungs make new blood vessels and it helps make your brain make more neurons. It doesn't change your DNA itself. It just changes the way that your RNA is replicated from your DNA. So we all have relatively the same DNA. You and a banana share almost the exact same DNA code. It's just the RNA that is chosen to be expressed from that DNA that choose to make you a human and that a banana. So it's not changing your DNA. It's just changing the RNA that's expressed from that same code that we pretty much all share the exact same code, you know? It changes the way that your blood pressure genes are regulated. It can cause blood pressure issues and disease. It can cause excess fluid in the lungs, so it makes you feel like you're having an asthma attack or like you're drowning in your own air. And it does make your breathing not as frequent. But the study I'm about to go over does not measure the oxygenation of the blood. So it is not known whether or not your breathing isn't as frequent because you don't have to, because you're too oxygenated, or if it's because you are unable to, because you can't breathe. So it's not concluded whether or not you don't need to or you are unable to, because it does not measure the oxygenation of the blood, which is how much oxygen is in your blood circulating throughout your body. But with all of these negative health effects, it does help your lungs make new blood vessels, but also helps your brain make more neurons. So we got an article here about ozone. Acute inhalation of ozone induces DNA methylation of apelin in lungs of Long Evans rats. So in particular, apelin is used to regulate your blood pressure. So breathing in ozone changes the way that your DNA is going to copy itself into RNA in your lungs, the parts of your lungs that regulate your blood pressure. This part mentions that reductions in this apelin production, the part of your lungs that regulate your blood pressure, reductions in it can lead to lung diseases. This part mentions that it changes your pulmonary function, so the way that your heart is pumping blood through your body. It says that it's associated with increased enhanced pause. That means that there's not really a lot of airway reactivity. So they noticed that with these rats, when they breathed in ozone, they didn't have to breathe as much. That little pause when you breathe and before you take another breath, that pause was a lot longer than people or rats that didn't breathe in ozone. And it also had a reduction in the part. It does mention that reduced apelin production, the part that regulates your blood pressure, it does have a link to cardiovascular disease, diabetes, fluid imbalance, activation of stress response, and pulmonary disease, so things that are related to your blood pumping through your body. So with breathing in ozone, there is a risk for developing cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and other types of imbalances that are because of your blood pressure being unable to regulate itself. This part is really cool. It says that there is a lot of evidence, and it cites the other lab studies also, that ozone exposure, breathing in ozone, it upregulates your ability to absorb nitric oxide synthase in your lungs. So nitric oxide synthase is your body's way of developing new blood vessels and neurons. So you have to consider that, along with the risk of possibly causing cardiovascular issues, there is an availability of actually having a positive benefit to your body. An upregulation in nitric oxide synthase means that you're able to make new neurons and more blood vessels easily. So it does conclude that when you breathe in ozone, in rats at least, that it changes the way that your DNA is able to monitor its own replication in regards to your blood pressure with your lungs. So maybe this is what's been happening to people, because there is an increase in ozone, especially last year, and maybe that this is causing people to feel like they can't breathe and that they're unable to breathe correctly. This part specifically says that it changes the breathing patterns in both humans and rodent models. For breathing in ozone, it decreases the breathing frequency, so you don't have to breathe as much, and it makes the pause in between your breaths longer. I did say in the beginning that I suspect that it's because of the over-oxygenation of the blood, so the blood having too much oxygen so you don't need to take a breath, or I'm wondering if it is because you are unable to take a breath because ozone makes your breathing more difficult. So it's hard to say, but thank you.